To welcome everyone here to this special council meeting. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge this land that we meet on tonight is the traditional lands for the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. My name is Karen Redman. I'm the Mayor of the town of Gawler. I'd like to welcome everyone here, anyone watching on YouTube as well. Roll call, we have an apology from Councillor Goldstone, if that can be noted, and everyone else is here. Any motions to grant leave of absence, councillors? There be none. I'll keep moving. There's no leave of absence currently on the books and no non-attendance. Deputations, we have a few. We have Catherine Warhurst, we have Jack Gill, we have Ian Tully, and we have Tom Bradanovic. So in that order, we'll start with our deputation. So firstly, and 5 minutes, and I'll give you a 30-second warning so you know when the time's up. So Catherine, if you'd like to come to the microphone, thank you, and just turn it on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Redman and councillors. Thank you for this special council meeting. The Climate Emergency Working Group members greatly appreciate your efforts to come to the meeting. Councillors put in a lot of work and we really appreciate it, and all the staff associated, all your evenings are greatly appreciated. To echo the supportive words of our Mayor in the introduction to the plan, where she says, "It fills me with pride to be the Mayor of the first council in South Australia to declare a climate emergency and to demonstrate its commitment to a safer, more resilient future through this climate emergency action plan. Council's aim is to support our community as we seek to reduce our emissions and continue to adapt to our changing climate. As Chair of the Climate Emergency Working Group, I'm also filled with pride to present the completed plan to the Council on this momentous night. Climate change is a nasty beast, and it's already making life worse for millions of people around the world, with worse to come. So that's why this council showed the leadership to act. Right now in Gawler, we have young people worried about their future. We have grandparents worried about what the future holds for their grandchildren. We have people now resident here in Gawler who are effectively climate refugees after losing their home in the Kangaroo Island fires, suffering loss and trauma, who desperately want climate action. As the Mayor stated, we were the first council in South Australia to declare a climate emergency and set up a community-based climate emergency action plan working group. 3 years of dedicated work has culminated in the plan before you tonight. This is a great action plan. It comes from broad engagement with our community, and our neighbourhood has responded with overwhelming support. They understand the threat a changing climate is to us all, and they understand that this plan will achieve very good things for our community. This plan was developed through an excellent process. Everyone has contributed to the development of this plan. For starters, the working group is comprised of elected members, council staff, and community members. And then it goes far wider than that. We have checked in with the whole council regularly and provided regular updates back to them. We have had multiple external reviews at different stages in the process. We had an early stage review from Edge Environmental Consultants. We had an external facilitator, that's URPS Consultants, for review of all the actions in the plan. The plan went to the Infrastructure and Environmental Services Committee, including a special workshop, which also included an external facilitator. The public consultation survey was designed by external experts, again URPS Consulting, who also wrote the report on the results of that survey. I'd like to thank the staff for their input and energy in the development of the plan, from the Chief Executive Officer, the Executive Manager Development and Compliance, the Executive Manager Finance and Corporate Governance, and the governance officers. Many staff across the council have contributed to the development of this plan, where actions from the action plan intersected with their areas of expertise. I thank them all for their efforts over the past 3 years. In particular, I would like to thank Jack Darzanos for his hard work, leadership, and commitment to this plan. Also, thanks to Tim Kelly for his guidance on the energy market and his unflagging determination for the action plan to have the highest level of data integrity and ambition. And to both of them for their dedication to make sure Gawler Council does everything it can to protect our community from the impacts of climate change. And of course, to Megan Jarman for her cheerful support throughout every working group meeting and making sense of our wide-ranging and enthusiastic discussions. I'd particularly like to recognise the work of former Councillor Ian Tooley, who got this whole process started. So that's the progress. Now for the content. This action plan has 15 great actions. Every one of these actions has been specifically crafted to effectively deal with a particular problem or barrier. They are aimed squarely at taking responsibility for our own emissions.
30 seconds, thank you, Catherine.
Sure. What the plan shows now is a real pathway for Gawler to reduce emissions rapidly. This plan sets out specifically what could be done in what order is most feasible. This plan is flexible and robust. So Gawler has led the way on negotiations across local government association for energy bulk buys. There are many, many more clever ideas and opportunities we'll find in the ongoing implementation of the plan. And of course, every action will be put through the normal.
Catherine.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you, Catherine. So next person is Mr. Jack Gill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Redman, councillors, staff, and those of us in person and online. I greatly appreciate Council holding this meeting to decide on adopting the Climate Emergency Action Plan following the motion that was carried last week. I also am grateful to have this opportunity to provide a deputation on the matter. I've spoken at previous meetings throughout this council term and provided my opinion several times. Out of respect to you all giving up your time tonight to vote on this important document, I'll keep my remarks relatively brief. I acknowledge that we are in the midst of a global climate emergency. I also acknowledge that before you is an aspirational document which outlines a broad plan to rapidly reduce the council's and communities' carbon emissions in line with the best science available now. I encourage the elected members to vote for the Town of Gawler Climate Emergency Action Plan, not just to protect this generation, but to ensure a sustainable, prosperous, and equitable future for future generations. I wish to reiterate the intergenerational implications that arise from the decisions made now regarding climate action. The global youth have made it clear that decarbonisation, climate action, and climate resilience are some of the most important topics to them. They recognise that inaction on climate change will result in severe economic, social, and environmental implications, impacting individuals within our community and the global community, particularly the vulnerable, the elderly, and the homeless. As a country with a high emissions tonnage per capita, we bear some of the global responsibility towards protecting those individuals. As a 23-year-old, I'll be soon leaving the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee. As such, I can wholeheartedly say that the next generation of leaders will be driven, enthusiastic, and engaged, and will no doubt work tirelessly in the best interests of the community. As such, the decisions we make now as youth representatives, councillors, community leaders, team leaders, parents, and siblings will define the township the next generation of citizens and leaders take on. Thus, it becomes clear that voting in favour of the motion is in the best interest of the township. The town has acknowledged this, being a Better Futures Declaration signatory, a public commitment to ambitious climate action to ensure Australia is on target for a prosperous, climate resilient, zero emissions future in line with the goals of the Paris Agreement. I'll be attending the Better Futures Forum on Tuesday next week in Canberra as a workshop advisor and look forward to sharing my knowledge and experience with other attendees. Lastly, I took note of some of the comments made at the last meeting. Very grateful that YouTube recordings exist so I could make sure I didn't misconstrue any of my comments. Obviously, as I'm not a councillor and not an expert on matters regarding the Audit and Risk Committee, I won't speak to comments regarding those. However, one comment that I heard mentioned a few times was that the concern was that the SEEP will impose immediate cost upon the next council. I was surprised about that, given that having sat in these meetings, we have never developed business cases for any of the ideas prompted in the plan. The only times financial measures were outlined in the document were to highlight the savings that solar has already generated and what replacing the streetlights with LEDs could save per annum, a business case that has already been implemented under the usual budget measures. In response to the comments made last week regarding endorsing a document without review, I point to elect members to page 8 of the agenda, where there is a summary of the changes made following the endorsed community consultation. Given the positive feedback from the community, there are no significant changes to the previously endorsed plan. The most recent copy of the action plan is attached to your agenda, which you can review and ensure that you are satisfied in what you are supporting. Additionally, the staff, Tim and Jack, have worked tirelessly on this report and have been entrusted by the elected members with managing this process over the past 3 years. Thank you for your time, for having me, and for giving the Climate Emergency Action Plan the thought it deserves. I again reiterate that the Climate Emergency Action Plan is an aspirational document and will continue Gawler's long-standing tradition of being a lighthouse community and will set up a brighter and sustainable future for the next generations of Gawlerites. And I encourage you all to vote in favour. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Next is Mr. Ian Chorley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start where Jack left off about the audit and risk. As you would all be aware, I've sat on this council for 7 years, and I cannot remember matters coming before us where we were calling for that matter to go to the audit and risk. And yet last week, this became the thing that swayed some of your votes. Some of you were voting against the proposal based on it should go to the audit and risk. You made it sound very reasonable that it should go to the audit and risk, but I've never heard you do that before. And I don't know why you singled this document out. I sat in this chamber when the Gawler River Floodplain Authority brought its plan. And that plan, of which we are a big financial contributor, said to us, we have to act. And it happened again after the last big flood event that caused so many $1 million of damage downstream. And I said to the people that presented that plan, is your modelling based on climate facts now? And I was gobsmacked. They said no. They said our modelling goes on the modelling of the 100-year floods, the 1,000-year floods. It's based on that data. I was outraged. But none of you put up one skerrick of a complaint when it said, if we do not act on their recommendations, which are multi-million, then the cost will be 10 to 20 times that amount if we take no action. You accepted that argument and you endorsed the Gawler River Floodplain Authority plan. You committed this council to millions and millions of dollars along with the other councils, and not one of you said it had to go to the audit and risk. And that plan did not even factor in current climate change action and data. It was relied on old data. Boundary reform, you've committed us now to another 500. Why don't you stop that motion right now and use your same argument and say no before it goes to the next council? We want that $500,000 we've committed to go to the audit and risk, because the audit and risk will come back to you and say, as they should, very risky. Every chance you'll lose that money down the toilet. But no, you don't care. You haven't held that one up against the audit and risk, but the CAP you have. The Biodiversity Management Plan, a sweetheart of Councillor Koch and Councillor Hughes and others. Cost over $90,000, has over $3 million in commitments in there. And as Councillor Shanks rightly said, with all those plans, it's when it comes to the finance budgeting time is when you would ask audit and risk. But you were prepared to vote down based on saying, I want to single out the CAP and I want to send it to the audit and risk. Some of you may even choosing to vote on that basis tonight. Was I surprised that Councillor Hughes and Councillor Koch voted against that motion? No.
Okay,
Because
please keep your comments general.
Yep.
And supportive of, I assume you're speaking in support of the SEEP but please don't start attacking individual
No,
members.
I'm not
So-
attacking. I'm doing what everyone from this
So
open forum
if you could
has done
keep
many
your
times.
comments general
I am
and
just-
in support of the seat, please.
It's
Thank
factual,
you.
Mayor, that Councillor Hughes and Councillor Koch voted against the set. I said it last time, I'm just saying it again. But what did surprise me at the last meeting, Mayor, was the way that a member of that
Again,
SEAT committee,
Mr.
who had been on
Tooley,
that committee for
Mr.
4
Tooley, keep your
years.
comments general and in support of the seat, which I'm
It is.
assuming you're speaking in support of the seat, which is a good thing to do.
Thank
But
you.
please don't attack people
No, I'm not
and
attacking.
single out people. It's just not helpful.
Mayor, I'm not attacking people. I'm just showing it's on the record. This is why you guys call it division. And I heard, and I'm recounting what I heard at the last meeting, which left me gobsmacked, that a member of the committee, Councillor Koch, was so strongly critical of the actual SEAT. Now, he's had every opportunity while this group has been working on it for 4 years. I was gobsmacked by that. The reality is, as we are seeing right now, we have a climate and a weather system on steroids. It is physics in place. It is no respecter of deniers or troublemakers. It is physics. And we are seeing, as we've seen just today, if the Greenland ice sheet goes, it will be 1 foot minimum rise. Imagine what that does to every council plan of Port Adelaide, Charles Campbell. It's meaningless when you're dealing with that sort of catastrophe. We are dealing with exactly the same thing. And if we wait until the last person says they're ready to accept the facts,
Got 30 seconds.
it is too
Thank you.
late. The physics and the science, it is too late. It is unstoppable. Every council, every government has got to do what you have the chance to do tonight. Set a plan in place, an absolutely important plan for action. And if we do that together, we have a hope. Without doing that, we have no hope. The pioneering work that this council has done should not end tonight with voting down that motion.
Thank
It
you.
should end
Time's up.
tonight by
Thank you.
supporting it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, I think Tom Brodanovic, I think you're next. Thank you, Tom.
Good evening, Mayor, councillors, and all of you in the room and online. Thank you for allowing me to participate in the debate about SEEP. I participated in the creation of this plan as a member of the community. I've been working in our energy sector since early 2001 and the renewable industry since 2008. I've worked with a number of councils, and they all view today Town of Gawler as progressive council and one of the leaders in the space. I know quite a bit about our energy system and our current and emerging technologies that will support us in the future. I view SEEP goals aligning with the plans of local, state and federal governments, and technical solutions in the plan have already been applied in other parts of the country. Let me remind you about our state's energy goals and achievements. 100% renewable energy by 2030, but it's very likely that this plan will be achieved a lot earlier, if not years earlier. In 2021, already 63% of electricity demand is met by renewable energy generation. It is worth mentioning that at the end of the last year, electricity demand in South Australia was met by renewable energy only for 156 hours or 6.5 days. These facts demonstrate the most of electrical energy we consume during the daylight hours come from renewable source, and accessibility of this low-cost energy is already available to everyone. Recently, the Australian Energy Market Operator released the latest version of their integrated system plan that provides a blueprint of Australian energy transition to net zero by 2050. Here are a few details about this plan. Electricity consumption will increase or double by 2050. Wind generation will increase 9-fold, large-scale solar generation by 5-fold. Energy storage, battery, pump hydro, and other forms of storage will increase 30 times. Coal generation will retire by 2043 and gas generation capacity will increase from 7 to 10 gigawatts. Renewable energy transition has been happening for decades at least. Accelerated across the globe since 24th of February this year when the war in Ukraine started. The global price of gas and coal has increased to record levels, increasing demand for more renewables to cut off dependence of these forms of fossil fuel. In Australia, the cost of electricity for some energy consumers doubled from the last contracted period. For those who are considering not to support this plan based on perceived cost to council, I ask the question, what is the immediate practical cost of inaction? For example, the current price of gas is at least 5 times higher than last year. What would be the cost of running the swimming pool next season on gas? We cannot make gas, but we can make electricity. Converting heating to electricity and installing renewables will not only reduce emissions to protect council from these external price risks. The plan has already provided savings to the council. It has instigated mostly healthy discussions and determined the benchmarks of the current resource consumption. It has broadened the range of options in all levels of council operation and highlighted achievable opportunities. As you know, solar energy has become the cheapest form of electricity generation. Demand of EVs in Australia has increased to the point that they are sold before they land in the country. This transition is already happening and it is faster than anybody predicted. Those who participate in it will benefit the most. We have opportunity here to embrace the change, collaborate, share information, and help each other for the benefit of younger generations. Today, we make a decision on the future of this plan, and I'm here to support it for my children, my family, friends,
30
and my
seconds,
community.
thanks, Tom.
I hope you too have motivation to do the same for someone younger than yourself you care about. Thank you again for letting me support this plan.
Thank you, Tom. That concludes the deputations. Now, councillors, any declarations of interest tonight? There be none. We'll move on to decision reports, 5.1, and I'm on page 4 of 169. Councillor Hughes, Deputy Mayor Hughes. Can somebody turn the microphone off? Thanks, Ian. If you could just turn that off. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation. Yeah, thank everyone that's been working on this plan. There's been a lot of work by the community and committees, staff, and external consultants as well. Yeah, it is a document that I think our community be very happy with overall. I mean, my concern last week was not to hold this up at all. It was to actually value add, and it was found that we could have had it go to the Audit and Risk Committee and still get through caretaker, but I'm happy to endorse it tonight. Yeah, I think there could have been some value add from some of the independent members. One in particular works for SA Water that's actually really active in this space and very innovative. I'm very happy with the document, very happy to endorse it. And I think, yeah, our community be very happy with the final document. And yeah, I just thank everyone that's come out tonight and come out other nights and all the work that the committee's done over the many years. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sambal, you had your hand up. Do you want a second? Yeah. Do you wish to speak, Brian?
Thank you, Mayor Karen. Yes, I'd certainly like to endorse those words that Deputy Mayor David has said. The amount of work that's been put into this and how it's been put together, and our community, without a doubt, I feel will be very, very proud of what is done, and I urge all councillors to support this motion.
Thank you. Discussion. So I've got Councillor Fraser and I think I saw Councillor Davies' hand up as well, and Councillor Kosh in that order. Thank you.
I have to admit, when this first came to council, I actually voted against it. I didn't think it was council's core business. I thought it should have been run by the state government or the federal government, probably. I have to admit that over the last few years, I've been educated to know that the small man can put something up and make a big change. So that was a lesson for me. I think it should be, I think it's an amazing document, and it is aspirational, so therefore it's fluid, which means that as things become invented or things change, we can actually go with the flow. And I think it's everybody that's involved with it should be congratulated, and I mean everybody, because it is a lot of people that have been involved in this document. And I actually think, as far as council goes, it should be up there almost as high as the community plan. So it's something that we need to look at and work with, and yeah, just everything should revolve around this, really. We shouldn't look at anything without looking at what it's doing to our environment before we pass it. So I'm very happy to vote for this.
Thank you, Councillor Fraser. I'd just like to thank the Working Party for all their work and staff, because I think it is a good document, and I congratulate them on their hard work. Thank you. I think Councillor Davies is next.
Yeah, this is an extremely well-considered plan that has been slowly but surely put together over these past few years. I've learned a lot from being part of the committee over that time. It's involved a lot of work for our committee, many whom are in the gallery today, who've continued to revise this document based on new feedback and data coming through. And there's also been some fantastic work from our staff to make this possible. Tim Kelly, of course, Jack Darzanos, who's had quite a lot to juggle, filling in as senior management and answering questions and delivering mail to my door and all sorts of things. So, you know, just some great work from the staff. I'm glad to see that this plan received such a strong level of support during our community consultation process, with not just ratings, but a wide range of thoughtful commentary, which shows that the community didn't just show up to give a tick or a cross, but individually thought about each goal and how we could do it better. And that's something that I think with community consultations, you know, we don't often see a huge list of comments below every, you know, below every point, but we've sort of had a big wide range of comments on it, which has been really, really good. Yeah, I'm very happy to support this motion. I hope we can become a leader in this space in local government and encourage other councils to use the strong foundations we've built in order to support their own climate action plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kosh.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, I'm happy to support this this plan now. It's gone through community consultation. Those community consultations have been reviewed, and a lot of those comments are now into this plan, which I think is fantastic because it actually represents the broad view of the community. I've been on that committee, the working group, for 4 years. We've had robust discussions, and I appreciate that we had robust discussions, and it's been respectful discussions. So I thank you for that. So thank you.
Any other discussion, Councillor Shanks?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and members. Yeah, look, just picking up on a few points. Look, I look forward to hearing from our independent members, and if members remember, that's point 4 of the motion that we endorsed last week, and we will get that feedback in the budget process. So I am looking forward to hearing that, whether or not I'm an elected member at the time or as a community member engaged in council business. Secondly, just on behalf of the group, I would probably like to say you're welcome. We've spent a lot of time, a lot of effort as the working group to develop this document that I'm heartened and humbled to hear from elected members like Councillor Fraser, where it is, as she said, it has educated her. I feel exactly the same way, to be honest, because I'm not as educated in this space as I'd like to be. I'm certainly way more educated being a part of this working group, and it has been a massive eye-opener for me. So I'd like to take that time to really thank the working group for having me. Also, another important point raised by Councillor Fraser was about it being fluid. And I'm glad that was picked up, because we spent a lot of time in the working group to ensure that it was able to adapt and change as technologies came online, as we found out more different facts and data as we go through. So yeah, other than that, I'd just like to echo a special thanks to staff in I guess not only working on the plan, but also chasing the outcomes, and the cross pollination between the different arms of the business has been really amazing. And I think the main point that I've made consistently when this has been supported throughout the chamber is you don't even have to believe in climate change if you don't want to. As a ratepayer, this plan is a no-brainer as well. That's the other little silver lining that I think really needs to be clear, because we have been accused of wasting the money. And just to be clear, it was $20,000 over the 3 years. The rest was volunteer and allocated staff time, which I do acknowledge is real time. But yeah, I'm just really happy to be part of this moment in history, and I look forward to seeing this plan implemented.
Any other discussion? If not, Deputy Mayor, do you wish to close the debate? Are you happy for me to put the motion? I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. I now close the meeting at 7:31. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So just a reminder about the special council meeting tomorrow night at 7 p.m. here